Hi, everyone. I'm so excited to introduce you to two different activities that I got to try out with my kindergarten students. First thing I want you to do is take a look at these two pictures. What do you see happening? Yeah, there's a lot going on. What are some objects that you notice in these pictures that the kids are exploring? There's a scarf. Over here, there's a balloon. Yeah. So in this picture, this was the first day of our weight unit. And I wanted to introduce our weight unit with a whole body math activity. So I brought into the classroom, into our meeting circle, I brought a balloon, I brought a scarf, and then I brought a little bouncy ball, which you can't see in this picture. And I held them up to my friends and I said, "Friends, which one of these do you think, if we threw them up in the air, which one of these do you think would fall the fastest, would go to the ground the fastest?" And a lot of friends most of them thought that the balloon would. And I said, "Why do you think the balloon would fall the quickest?" And they said, "Because it's the biggest. It's the heaviest." And I said, "Okay, why do you think it's the heaviest?" And they said, "Well, it's the heaviest because it's the biggest." I said, "Okay, well, let's try. Let's let's experiment. Let's try." So I had some of my friends sit on the outside of the rug as the audience. And this role is really important because when you're when you're doing the activity, you have a different experience than the audience, which is the outsiders who get to watch and have a different perspective of what's going on. So first we started with the scarves. And I had friends come in the middle of the circle and they each got a scarf. And we counted to three. One, two, three. And we let the scarf drop. And our job in this whole body math experience, our job was, as the scarf was falling, we were to follow the scarf with our whole body, just like some of us did in the last activity. Follow the scarf with our whole body, and then put our hand on the ground as it touched the floor. And we were to pay and we were paying attention to how long it took, how it felt. And so they dropped it, they followed the scarf all the way to the ground. And then the audience talked about, "What did you notice?" "I noticed that the scarf was falling slowly. The scarf was almost," someone kid said, "the scarf was like it was dancing in the air as it fell." Then we did the same thing with the big balloon. And friends got in the middle, and friends were in the audience. And we went one, two, three, and we let the balloons drop, and we followed the balloons all the way to the ground. And again, we came back to the meeting circle, and I said, "What did you notice?" And some friends were saying, "I thought the balloon would go straight down because it was so big, but I noticed it also kind of floated down to the ground." Lastly, we had our small bouncy ball. And just a side note, I wouldn't recommend, if you were to do this activity, I wouldn't recommend using a bouncy ball because they did kind of start to fly all over the place. So a rock, like in the last exercise we did, would probably be better and would get the same idea across. Last, we held up the bouncy ball, which was really small. And I said, "Okay, friends, now we're going to see what this is like falling. And we're going to trace our bodies down to the ground again." So friends got their bouncy balls and dropped it. And as they dropped it, it went boom. And I said, "What did you notice?" And the audience members were like, "It went to the ground so fast. It touched the ground so fast." So then we came back to our circle and I asked them the question again. I said, "So at the beginning of our exercise, we asked which one of these objects, the balloon, the scarf, or the bouncy ball, did we think was going to drop to the ground the quickest?" And a lot of you said the bouncy ball. Do you still agree with this? And then friends were saying, "No, I actually," or they were saying that the balloon was going to fall the fastest. And I said, "Do you still agree with this?" And they said, "No, I don't agree with this." And I said, "Why not?" One kid goes, "Well, I thought I thought that the balloon would fall the fastest because it was biggest. But I'm realizing that actually the bouncy ball did because it was heavier." And another friend was saying, I'm learning that size doesn't always mean that it's going to be heavier. It doesn't always mean that it's just because it's bigger, it doesn't mean it's going to be heavier. And then one friend was pointing out the balloon had a lot of air in it. So it was big, but it wasn't actually that heavy. So that was an activity of how we started just an introduction to weight. And we started connecting that objects, just because they're big doesn't mean they're actually heavier. And we started to learn that the heavier objects would drop to the ground quicker. And it was really fun to get to experience the difference between those and kind of start to experience those differences and start to create understanding by experiencing it with our whole body. So that was really fun. Here's another activity that I did with my kindergarten students. We did something called math storytelling, story acting. And this was taken from Vivian Palin, who is famous for her storytelling, story acting in literacy. We decided to try this in math. And so in this picture, you're going to notice, what do you see? Yeah, there's 3 boys standing up like this. They were the birds in our activity. And then you see the 1, 2 friends right here. He wants to come in. 1, 2 friends right here in the middle. They were the dogs in the story. So Miss Bugden told a story, and my story went like this. One day I went on a walk in the park, and I saw 3 birds and 2 dogs. How many animals did I see? And so we told that story. I had them first close their eyes and visualize what they saw, and then they shared it back to me. And then I had the friends act out the story. So I picked 3 friends to be the birds. I picked 2 friends to be the dogs, and then there were some friends in the audience and some friends over here that you can't see. And so I had them act it out, and then I asked the question, how many animals were there? And this friend over here is like, I know. And so the answer was 5. 3 birds plus 2 dogs equals 5. And I've found that doing math storytelling, story acting has helped my students to really get so excited about story problems in math. It's helped to provide a lot of access, especially for my class of all English language learners. And it's helped their whole body to experience the math problem. It's also been really important to have an audience, just like in our last activity. The audience is there to have a different perspective, a different view on what's happening in the story. Sometimes if you're in the story and you're the bird, you're just thinking about being a bird and you're not seeing the whole story that's going on or seeing yourself as one of the characters as well. So having that audience helps to really see the full story problem. So I encourage you to try math storytelling, story acting in your classroom. And we've done it both with addition and subtraction. It's really helped to make math story problems come to life and help all students of all levels be able to engage effectively and successfully in story problems.